Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say, friends and neighbors around the country? It's good to see you today, and welcome to the Bill Press Show on a Tuesday, October 15, the 15th day of our government shutdown. Well, it looks like there is the possibility of a deal being worked out in the Senate, but if you ask me, it's a bad deal. Looks like that to me. I mean, here's the way it would go. The deal they're talking about would extend the debt ceiling, but only until February 15. It would reopen the government, but only until January 15. And it would create another super committee to come up with a new budget deal by December 15. In other words, according to this deal, we will never get out of this mess that we are in. We're just going to bounce from one fiscal crisis right back into another one 2 or 3 months from now. And meanwhile, nothing else will get done. No immigration reform, no climate change legislation, no farm bill, nothing on education, nothing, because they'll be too busy fighting the same old battles all over again. If you ask me, President Obama ought to veto this deal and tell members of the House and the Senate to come back with something real and just reopen the government and get it over with and leave it working the way it should. Join the conversation anytime. Let's talk about it here. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. You can join us, of course, on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Lots to talk about this Tuesday morning, and here's where you do it on our morning town hall, coming to you live from our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill, out to you all across this great land. Let's get right into it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look, your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Did you commit to change the world?
On your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It looks like we got a deal, the makings of a deal, but is it worth a damn? Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? Happy Tuesday. Tuesday, October 15. Here we go. The Bill Press Show. We are in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., right in the heart of the action on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, keeping our eye on what's going on there, as well as what's going on at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, where I hang out during the day. We got it covered at the Capitol, at the White House. We'll tell you what's going on and give you a chance to sound off and tell us what you think about it all, whether the actions here in our nation's capital, around the country, or around the globe. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Bill Press Show on this Tuesday morning. And, of course, we want you to be part of the conversation. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Join us on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. All the good stuff that you want to talk about this morning, and how can you resist it when you got a team like ours with Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning. Hello, guys.
Hey, hey, hey. Good morning.
What do you say? Alicia Cruz here on the phones, and Cyprian Bolding. He's got the video cameras going because we are a radio show on your local progressive talk radio station, of course. That radio show, our radio show, is also shown and can be watched by you on Free Speech TV. More and more of you do every day. Free Speech TV, you have to have a satellite dish, and you can find it on the Dish Network or on DirecTV. And if not watching on TV, but just don't want to watch as well as listen, you can video stream the show on TawkrTV, TawkrTV. It's youtube.com/ and then all one word, TawkrTV. So my Dodgers,
the Doyers,
they had to come through last night. They were down 2-0.
This has turned out to be a very exciting series.
Very exciting series, and boy, there were the Dodgers brought it home last night. Here's how they went ahead in the get on the scoreboard. In the eighth inning, Vin Scully on KLAC
out of his
calling the play.
Spanish. Hanley swings, a little flare that's going to drop behind the glove of second baseman Wong, and the bases were loaded. Coming to the plate is Crawford to score, and the Dodgers lead 3-0.
There it is, 3-0. Well, you know, that was enough to get Vin Scully excited.
There you go.
How about that?
You know? Yeah.
There you go.
His voice got up to the next level there. Yeah.
It was. I didn't watch it obviously because it's a little past our bedtimes, but it was apparently a very impressive game and impressive pitching performance by this guy Ryu, who's a South Korean. Pitched 7 innings. First time a Dodger has done that in a playoff game since 1981.
Well, what I read about was that I didn't watch it either. Was that Puig, who thought he had hit a home run, starts out toward first, waving his arms and everything, and then he realizes it's not going to go over the wall, so he just bears down, puts his arm, and starts running like hell, and goes and stand up into triple. and got a standing ovation for the crowd because he beat that. It should have been a double, and he made it a triple. And God,
he's amazing.
Yeah.
He is amazing to watch. I know that
rookie.
Rookie. I know everybody here in D.C. likes to talk about Bryce Harper and the rookie year he had, which was great. But this Puig is amazing to watch.
All right, so let's get right into it. We've got the help this morning of a congressman from Connecticut, Jim Himes, who will be in studio with us. Also on this Tuesday, we'll bring back our friends Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post, Igor Volsky from Think Progress, Daniel Stone from National Geographic, and then Ashley Codianni from Now This News. What a lineup this morning, and all of you, of course. We'll get right into it, but first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Other headlines making news on this Tuesday. The vice president found himself with some free time yesterday after that planned White House meeting with congressional leaders was postponed, so he went shopping. The Hill reports Joe Biden was spotted at a Brooks Brothers clothing store. No word on what he bought, but they were offering a Columbus Day sale on dress shirts. He's known to frequent the chain. A few years ago, a man buying a Brooks Brothers dress shirt at a thrift shop found a pair of Biden's cufflinks still attached to that shirt.
I wonder which one he went to. There are a couple
the Connecticut Avenue.
Oh, the one in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, downtown. Astronaut Mark Kelly and his wife, former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, saw the hit movie Gravity, and they really liked it. Kelly, who has spent 55 days in outer space, reviewed the film for the Washington Post, saying it was not entirely unrealistic. He said it was more than just entertaining, often remarkably close to what he really experienced while on the job. He did, of course, acknowledge how the space station falling out of orbit when hit by debris really can't happen. But if that's the worst part of the movie that's not correct, he says it's not a big deal.
If that movie is realistic, I could never be an astronaut.
You're not going to become an astronaut.
I'm a little long in the tooth to start down that astronaut game anyway. But God, that movie's terrifying. If that's anything close to real life, good Lord.
Well, let me say it this way: if this Senate deal they're talking about is a good deal, I am an astronaut.
Okay.
And this is inspiring. A man who, when he was 1 year old as an infant, was told by doctors that he would never walk in his life.
I doubt that he was told that by doctors.
Well, his parents were.
They probably told his parents.
Yes. Young man.
Yes.
You're going to have a horrible life ahead of you.
He finished the Chicago Marathon early yesterday morning.
And he's 1 year old. That's amazing.
Clocking in at 16 hours and 46 minutes for the 26.2-mile trek. He's 36-year-old Michael Malamed of Venezuela. He suffers from a rare muscle-depleting condition. Finished the marathon at 1:30 in the morning to a loud crowd of about 100 people waiting for him at the finish line.
I would do.
Yeah.
He was the very last of 45,000 people to cross that finish line. But here's the thing. This was his third complete marathon.
No
and
kidding.
he basically
Really?
walks the entire thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good for him. God bless him. Wow. 45,000 people running that marathon in Chicago? Oh, my God.
That'd be a good day to just stay at home in Chicago. You know, don't try and get around the city on marathon day.
I'll tell you, 26 miles, 17 hours, would be about my speed, I think. Yes, all right. Well, you have probably heard there have been a lot of high-level talks in the Senate because all the action for this fiscal crisis. And now the House has just basically thrown up its hands and said, we can't get anything done over here. We admit it. So we'll see what you can do in the Senate. And Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell and their lieutenants have been talking with signs of hope. The two leaders went to the floor of the Senate yesterday in front of the TV cameras. There was really no action taking place to give a little progress report. And Harry Reid saying it's looking good.
I'm very optimistic that we will reach an agreement. It's reasonable in nature this week. Reopen the government, pay the nation's bills, and begin long-term negotiations to put our country on sound fiscal footing.
And Leader Reid says, of course, not everybody's going to be happy with every aspect of this deal.
We're doing our best to make everybody happy, but everyone knows we're not going to be able to do that. So everybody understand we're doing the very best we can with all the frailties that we have as people and legislators.
Now, the Senate Republican leader, Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, came to the microphone. These two men don't necessarily. It's pretty well known that they're not good friends. But Mitch McConnell echoed what Leader Reid had said.
We've had an opportunity over the last couple of days to have some very constructive exchanges of views about how to move forward.
And he also expressed his optimism that they were going to reach a deal. Remember, the deadline is Thursday at midnight. Now, let's just take a look at what they are talking about because, of course, everything leaks here in Washington. So the rough outline of what they are close to putting in front of the full Senate, the deal looks like this. And please, let's just follow this carefully. There are three parts to it because I want to know what you think about it, okay? So first of all, the deal would raise the debt ceiling, okay? But only until February 15, 4 months. The deal would reopen the government. Great. But only until January 15, 3 months. The deal would say, meanwhile, we are going to appoint another super committee. They're not calling it that, but it's the same thing. A budget committee that has the job of coming up with some new budgetary constraints that we could all live with. And they are supposed to do that by December 15. 2 months. All right? So you got it? Raise the debt ceiling until February 15. Reopen the government until January 15, have this budget committee get to work until December 15. Now, I don't know about you, but that deal, I don't think, is a good deal at all. I mean, there are a couple of things wrong with it, right? Number one is December 15, January 15, February 15. This is October 15. We're going to be right. We're never going to get out of this mess. We will be stuck in the same mud we're stuck in now. We're just going to bounce. I mean, how long have we been building up to this deadline? The last 2 months. So we're just going to bounce from one fiscal crisis right back into another one. If this deal is accepted this week, next week we'll be arguing the same issues, the same Tea Party opposition, the same demands, the same gridlock, right? The same paralysis here in Washington, D.C. It's not going to give us any relief at all. All it does, in the great way Washington does things, is kick the can down the road. I mean, Bob Schieffer said this last night on CBS. He said, we don't have many statesmen anymore, but we've got a lot of can kickers. And that's about what we got. Yeah. Oh, man, we got this great big serious problem. Oh, man, let's see if we can put the best minds that we've got together. We can solve this problem for 2 months. It's just nonsense, number one. Number two, because we're going to be absorbed with this again, consumed with this again, and never get out of it, right? What's going to happen? Nothing else is going to happen. Nothing else will be done. There will be no time. There will be no attention to immigration reform. It ain't going to happen. There'll be nothing done about climate change. It ain't going to happen. You name the issue. They cannot do anything else while they're mired in this fiscal nonsense. They won't do anything about education or transportation or the Farm Bill. Farm Bill, forget about it. You know what else they won't do? They won't be taking a look at the Affordable Care Act and the ways they could make it better. Won't be doing that at all. And there's the deal. There's the deal. Tell me what this was all about. This is just absolute nonsense. This shutdown never had to happen. This crisis never had to happen. And this deal, I think, is one bad deal. If I were the president, I know it would be tough. If I were the president, I would stand up. I would veto this deal. First of all, they got to get it through the House, too. Let's not forget that, which is going to be highly unlikely. But assuming they can get it through the House, through the Senate first, and through the House, which is a much bigger hill to climb, and get it to the president's desk, I think the president ought to veto it and just say, hey, listen, grow up. Grow up. Come back here with something real. Come back here with something serious. I mean, at least give us a year where we can get some other stuff done. This deal that they're proposing, thumbs down as far as I'm concerned. How about you? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it here. Tuesday on The Bill Press Show.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know, you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go now. 25 minutes. 25 minutes after the hour. Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post up in the next half hour here. We are talking about the glimmerings of a deal that the Senate is talking about. Sounds like a bad deal to me. Peter?
Yeah, we're on Twitter
there?
at BP Show, at BP Show. Rob Teed says, Bill, you're losing it today. Sorry, but what world are you living in? Do you really think we'll get anything better? Really?
We can certainly get something better than this.
Seems that way.
Yeah. I mean, why not 6 months? Why not at least 6 months? Why not a year? It used to be, if not a year, 2 years for the debt ceiling. And now the idea that we would do it for 4 months? I mean, again, you know what? The Republicans always say, we need to provide certainty for the business community. Well, what corporation is going to make a great big investment decision knowing that 4 months from now, we could be in an economic free fall, right? I mean, that's not certainty. Glenn, I think, is a bad deal. Glenn is calling from, but I want to make clear, it's okay to disagree with me because I'm not right about everything.
Sure you are, boss.
Thank you. Glenn from Kettle Falls, Washington on Free Speech TV. Hey, Glenn.
Hey, how you doing?
All right.
I'll tell you what. First of all, the more afraid the American people get, the more pissed off they get.
I hope so.
The bottom line is everybody's waking up.
Yeah.
And so, you know what I say, take the deal.
Why? Take the deal? Really?
Yeah, take the deal, and I'll tell you why. Because you take the deal, and we're going through this thing. Next week, we're starting again. And the more people that,
I see.
Go ahead.
No, I see what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, man. The more people that are afraid to get off the couch. I don't know about you, but I've been watching people get off the couch. Older people, couples, families, and they're walking on some issue.
Well, my problem is, Glenn, I haven't seen enough people get off the couch. I think the American people have been asleep on this issue. The only people we hear from are these Yahoo so-called vets at the World War II Memorial. Carl, thanks, Glenn. Carl's calling from one of my favorite cities on the planet, Palm Springs, California. Hey, Carl.
Yes, Bill, I just have a quick, maybe very stupid question, but you and I are about the same age, and you've been covering Washington for many years. Why do you think any of these particular people in Congress, specifically, why do they campaign for the job? They don't want the job. They have not doing a job. They haven't. As long as I've been alive, I've never seen them do anything. I've never seen the Republican Congress do anything. Why do they even want this job? Is it just the money?
No, it's the money, it's the glory, it's all the perks. I mean, they have their own gym. Of course, they have to wash their own towels.
They don't do anything.
No, I know, Carl. No, you ask a very good question. I have asked that question myself over and over and over again. If they hate government so much, then stay the hell out of it. We don't need them. Why run for public office? I think the real answer is they hate government so much they want to come here and they want to kill it, and we got to understand that. And those are the 30 or 40 Tea Partiers, or however many there are. They do not want to make government better. They do not want to improve things for the American people. They want to shut down government. They want to destroy it. And they are in charge today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. It's 33 minutes now after the hour here on Tuesday, October 15. It is the Bill Press Show. We are coming to you live from our nation's capital and brought to you today by the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers Union. Have all merged together in a new union called the SMART Union, giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. The good men and women of the SMART Union under President Joseph Nigro, and find out more about their good work at smart-union.org. All right. We got the glimmer, the beginnings maybe of a deal in the Senate, but meanwhile the shutdown is now in its, this is day 15, and still having a disastrous impact across the country, as has been chronicled in the Huffington Post by Arthur Delaney. And look who's here this morning. It's Tuesday. Hello, Arthur. How are you?
Good. How are you?
You got lots of stories about the shutdown. People, I mean, it seems to get lost, right? People are thinking about, talking all about the deal and how we can move forward. But meanwhile, the shutdown just rolls on and on. I was reading the HuffPost Hill last night, the Daily Delaney Downer.
It's very topical and relevant today.
Government shutdown strikes again in North Carolina. More needy families in North Carolina will begin feeling the pinch of the shutdown Monday as the state suspends its Work First program. What's that all about?
That is welfare, temporary assistance for needy families. That's what they call it in North Carolina.
Work First. Huh?
Mm-hmm. And, that gives like $200 a month to really poor moms and dads trying to raise their kids. And North Carolina, for some reason, has been a real hotspot for the shutting down programs administered by the state. Other states aren't doing this just yet, though they will if the shutdown goes on and on, which it could. But so that, more bad news for people in North Carolina relying on the government safety net.
Did you see the story in the New York? So this is North Carolina. Again, we're talking a couple of $100 a month, right? Did you see the story in the New York Times yesterday about the Indian family out in I think it was Montana? Same thing with Bureau of Land Affairs, or Bureau of Indian Affairs payments, or something about $150 a month. This woman depended on for a family of three.
I didn't see the specific story, but a lot of Indian programs, which get all this separate appropriation, have been severely affected by the shutdown. And of course, it's such a small constituency that it gets so much less attention.
Have you taken a look at the shutdown's impact on veterans programs?
I have not.
No, that's all right. I know that's
Pop quiz, Arthur.
Come on, Arthur.
Although from headlines, I am aware that they've been having some issues, and people have had to volunteer to step up. But they, veterans in the military were supposed to be shielded, like it's Fight Club, right? Except Republicans and Democrats agree no shots to the groin or biting, and so they agree they'll make sure military pay is protected and veterans can get their the surviving families can get death benefits and things like that. But there are still programs that serve veterans that have been shutting down and forcing volunteers to step up.
No, big time in terms of benefits, in terms of hospitals, services available, and everything. I was just wondering because we talked yesterday about this phony Million Vets March at the which amounted to about 200 people, a few of whom were vets at the World War II Memorial. Yes, Sunday. But here's something that did catch my attention in Huffington Post, HuffingtonPost.com. Arthur Delaney. 5 ways a prolonged government shutdown steals food from babies.
That's right.
Yeah? Tell us about it.
Well, you saw one of them in North Carolina that we just talked about.
Yeah.
TANF shutting down there. If this goes on until November, that's going to happen everywhere as November drags on. Now it looks like there might be a deal before then. But that's only been the case for the past 24 hours.
Right.
And it's entirely possible that will fall through. So another program that will be in big trouble come November is WIC, the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children. 9 million moms and babies across the country. Already 5 states said, we got to shut WIC down. We have no more money. And the USDA scrambled and gave them contingency funds. And they reopened. So they have said, if this goes on for another month, no way.
So for the time being, because we heard about WIC, and you told us about WIC a couple of weeks ago, for the time being, WIC has still managed to stay in business. Is that right?
Yes, thanks to leftover money and contingency funds. A sort of shoestring operation there. Then Head Start. Come November, 86,000 children in 41 states could lose access to Head Start, and that's for preschool age kids, gives them nutritious meals and early cognitive schooling.
And some Head Start programs have already been cut. We reported on some of them.
Yeah, and then these philanthropists donated $10 million. And they reopened. So again, another situation where it's only staying open through November,
Band-Aid,
thanks to a Band-Aid. And then there's, of course, the furloughed workers. They're on the list here. We've interviewed workers. They got kids to feed and bills to pay. And the longer this goes on, when they have missed 1 or 2 paychecks.
They've already missed 1 paycheck.
Yeah, as of today for probably most people, the 15th. So we've talked to people who are already facing a crunch because of that. One woman interviewed by my colleague Jason Cherkis, she told her daughter, you can have new winter boots or you can have food. And I mean, obviously there was no real choice. It was the food. They're putting off the winter boots there. And then the biggest question mark, food stamps. 50 million people rely on food stamps for food each month. And the USDA has only said we're good through October. And they don't say what happens in November. So it's a bit of a question mark. But the size of that program is huge. So it's a big deal that there's uncertainty there.
Did I hear you correctly? 50 million people?
50 million people getting $133 a month. And they don't say that the program will keep going next month. It could, but they're being very quiet about it. Whereas with some other things they have set up front, it'll be good for months.
But what does it say about the United States of America? I mean, in the year 2013, that 50 million Americans depend on food stamps just to get by. I mean,
well, right? It says there's a lot of things that says, and it depends on your political persuasion, how you interpret that.
Here's what I don't think it does. I don't think it's good news whether you're a Republican or a Democrat.
Well, Paul Ryan will say it just shows our welfare state is a hammock and people are chilling out in it. I think it shows the lack of good jobs and generosity of the safety net. We don't let people starve in this country. But if you shut down the government, the program that doesn't let people starve, it won't. It shuts down and people don't have food. But and this picture,
but it also shows, that while we hear more stories about people doing really, 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 really well, there are a lot of Americans who are not. This rising tide has not lifted all boats, right? There's a lot of poverty in this country. A lot of people who are living right on the margins.
The soaring income inequality is just a stick in the eye for everyone who works hard and is still poor. It just doesn't seem very fair at all.
No.
And it's very real.
And it's getting wider and wider, right?
Wider and wider. Incomes have gone up 60% overall for the past 30 years. But that's 250% for the top 1% and, peanuts for the rest. So it's not controversial. It's a fact. And it's, a crappy fact.
Right. Yeah. So so this deal that they're talking about, right, would reopen the government, but only until, end the shutdown.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about going into default, God forbid. Just talking about the effects of the shutdown here. It would reopen the government only until January the 15th.
And then we get to do all this again.
Mm-hmm.
Which for journalists is fine because I can just hit Control-C and then Control-V and then republish everything. We had some stuff left over from the last almost shutdown, but now, we're really well rehearsed in everything that goes wrong. So that'll be easy for me. Tough luck for everyone who's starving in America.
Yeah, I was just going to, right. It's good for us, right? So we know, we've been through the drill now. We know the arguments. We know what to talk about. We know what to write. We know where to go to find the stories.
And what happens?
The people who are on the short end of the stick here, right? They're right
Well, they'll
back.
know what to expect, too.
Yeah.
But what
Hunger.
an amazing thing about the shutdown I was thinking this morning is how the conventional wisdom about what would happen was just amazingly accurate. Everyone said Republicans will get blamed. The polls have just followed that script.
Totally.
Absolutely perfectly. And the programs that are shutting down, it's pretty much what we expected to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And now with this deal, it basically looks like Republicans caving, like we said we'd wait to happen.
Arthur Delaney for Huffington Post, keeping on top of the disastrous effects of the shutdown across the country, which a lot of people are not reporting on. But you are the ones on the receiving end here. Let us know your stories, how the shutdown is impacting you and your family and your community. 866-55-PRESS is the toll-free number. We'll talk when we come back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Eleven minutes before the top of the hour here. Here in studio with Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post.
Yeah, one story that may have slipped under the radar. Meanwhile, the Edward Snowden saga continues. More
every day, more comes out about it.
More documents were sort of brought to light yesterday. The Washington Post has a story. The NSA has been harvesting and collecting millions of address books from emails. You know, like if you have an email and you have an address book for work or party or whatever you have a party email list, I'm sure. Right?
I don't have an address book. I use Gmail.
Well, that's an address book. I mean, they keep everything there. Inside Gmail, you have an address book of people you send emails to.
Yeah.
So the NSA is going in and just gathering that information. No big deal. Just going in and grabbing everybody that you know and love and making sure that they have a way to contact them and monitor them. That's all.
And then they make a chart, which is like a web of relationships.
Yeah, including By the way, this is for Americans.
Yes.
Just to be clear, this is for American citizens.
Every day, there is more and more proof that Edward Snowden was right and that Edward Snowden did us all a public service by revealing what NSA is up to. Arthur Delaney is here to bring us up to date on the impacts of the shutdown. They're very real across the country. Brent, Arthur, is calling from Chicago, listening on the great WCPT. Hello, Brent.
Good morning, Bill, and I'll get to it real quick because I know you run out of time. I think you hit the nail on the head a little while ago when you made a comment about how this incessant talking about the shutdown and the debt ceiling, whatever, is keeping us from talking about other things right now, about immigration, about the fact that we have 15 million people in this country that haven't had work in over 5 years, about how all these other issues that need to be dealt with, and Republicans are purposely keeping us in this constant state of uncertainty, so we can't settle or we can't find solutions to any of these problems. I think you're right. I think they want to keep us divided. They want to keep us in this constant state of at each other's throats, so we don't find any solutions. And I just want to commend you on that. I think more people need to be saying that.
Well, Brent, I appreciate it, but I said because it's true. I really believe that, number one, that's the reality, and number two, I think that's their intent. And Brent, appreciate the call. Arthur, I was making the point that, the fact that they're only talking about raising the debt ceiling for 4 months, right? Opening the government for 3 months means we're going to be talking about this stuff. We're just going to go from one fiscal crisis to the next one. And all those other issues that you've been talking about, like the Farm Bill and other things, are just not going to get done. Right?
If Republicans were a football team and they were ahead late in the game, they just keep running the ball. And it's boring, but it effectively prevents the other team from doing anything it wants to do. And that's the practical effect of just going from one can kick to the next. There's no talk about the Democratic agenda whatsoever. And the Democrats are constantly on defense.
But no talk about the American agenda. So, as Brent was saying, nothing about immigration reform, right? It's not going to happen now. Nothing about climate change. I mean, whatever happened to that, right? It's not going to happen. Farm Bill, they're not going to get it done.
The Farm Bill is secretly moving forward.
Really?
There's a conference committee, an old-fashioned, regular order conference committee is now happening. And there's no one has any time to hear about it because it's a farm bill, and even though it's got food stamps, it's a little dry, right? Do you want to hear a procedural story about a conference committee? I think immigration reform will get a little air after Republican primaries in the spring.
Yeah, this year, nothing.
No, not this year.
And even
we're done.
But you watch. It's January, so January we're going to be debating the same issues again, January and February. But even then, if they resolve it, they're just going to kick the can down until probably July or August.
Right, but like I said earlier, for political reporters, Control-C, and then Control-V, and then we go have a beer.
I don't want to be talking about. I don't want to be talking about this stuff forever. I want to get into some other real issues. Arthur Delaney, the downer of the day here. Thanks for coming in, Arthur, again.
Great to be here.
HuffingtonPost.com. You can follow him all the time and sign up for that HuffPost Hill. We'll be right back.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing done. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, in the next hour, Igor Volsky will be here. It's Tuesday, after all, from Think Progress. We'll also be joined by Daniel Stone from National Geographic. Interesting article today in the Annals of Internal Medicine, also reported in the New York Times, about William Howard Taft. He was the only massively obese president that we ever had, famous for getting stuck in a White House bathtub.
Yeah.
It turns out that he really knew he had a weight problem, was concerned about his weight problem, and was kept a diary and was in constant contact with a doctor about how to get his weight down.
Wow.
And was on a very strict diet. He actually worked at it, but then he would get his weight down and then plump back up again. Well, anyhow, very interesting story.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say, friends and neighbors around the country? It's good to see you today, and welcome to the Bill Press Show on a Tuesday, October 15, the 15th day of our government shutdown. Well, it looks like there is the possibility of a deal being worked out in the Senate, but if you ask me, it's a bad deal. Looks like that to me. I mean, here's the way it would go. The deal they're talking about would extend the debt ceiling, but only until February 15. It would reopen the government, but only until January 15. And it would create another super committee to come up with a new budget deal by December 15. In other words, according to this deal, we will never get out of this mess that we are in. We're just going to bounce from one fiscal crisis right back into another one 2 or 3 months from now. And meanwhile, nothing else will get done. No immigration reform, no climate change legislation, no farm bill, nothing on education, nothing, because they'll be too busy fighting the same old battles all over again. If you ask me, President Obama ought to veto this deal and tell members of the House and the Senate to come back with something real and just reopen the government and get it over with and leave it working the way it should. Join the conversation anytime. Let's talk about it here. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. You can join us, of course, on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Lots to talk about this Tuesday morning, and here's where you do it on our morning town hall, coming to you live from our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill, out to you all across this great land. Let's get right into it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
broadcasting around the nation on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, it looks like we got a deal, but is it worth a damn? I'm not sure. I don't think so. Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? Good morning, on Tuesday, October 15. Here we go, the Bill Press Show. Coming to you live from our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Just down the street from the United States Capitol building. We've got our eye on the intense negotiations there in the United States Senate. And also our eye on the White House, where they are watching things to see if this will be something the president can sign. But remember, whatever they do, it's got to get through the House also. That's the sticking point. Great to see you this morning. We look forward to hearing from you at 866-55-PRESS, our toll-free number. I look forward to getting your comments, as always, on Twitter. All of our great followers on Twitter, at BP Show, or on Facebook. Our friends on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. It's a Tuesday. Can't get through Tuesdays without checking in with Igor Volsky and Think Progress. I mean, that's where we get all of our material from. So some on Tuesdays, we just turned it over to Igor. So, yeah. That's what we
all right, Igor, go for it, buddy.
That's what we ought to do is just literally turn it over to you, and we'll just go downstairs and have a cup of coffee.
Sounds good. Let's go.
See you later.
I'm ready. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, I had my shake. I'm ready to go this morning.
Just for the hell of it, just in case we need some backup, we got the team here, though.
We're here.
Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning.
Hi
guys.
there.
Alicia Cruz there on the phones, and Cyprian Bolding on our video cam. We've been talking a lot about the shutdown, and the shutdown did have a real serious effect on the food stamp program, right?
Yes.
But there was another problem with the food stamp program yesterday, the EBT cards that they use. The computers went down with the company that runs these EBT cards.
Healthcare.gov? It's healthcare.gov also?
No.
It was, oh, my goodness.
Right, yeah.
Didn't know taking over everything.
Yeah. What's the name of that company?
Xerox. It's Xerox that administers these. Yeah, and they had a power outage at their headquarters.
They had a power outage, and so what happened is suddenly the limit on the card evaporated, and so they were unlimited cards. The sheriff of Spring Hill, Louisiana, tells what happened.
They quit registering available amounts on them. It just showed like a no limit on the card at that point in time. Individuals started flooding into the store.
They realized the word got around. Hey, if you got an EBT card,
that's like the happiest Columbus Day for someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sheriff goes on, man.
Some folks walked out of there with $2,000 and $3,000 worth of groceries. They weren't getting one buggy. I mean, they were getting 8, 10, 12 buggies of groceries.
8, 10, 12 buggies of groceries.
Dang. You got to have room for that. That's a real commitment.
Yeah.
We got a pickup truck.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Louisiana.
You got a plan for that.
There's a Walmart parking lot.
They don't come in VW bugs. They come in pickup trucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They give you a pick-em-up truck when you need your driver's license.
And then what happened was they fixed the problem. And so suddenly people realized they were shopping, but their card wasn't worth what they thought it was. And what happened then? The sheriff goes on.
There were just, I'm going to say 100 to 200 buggies full of merchandise left sitting in the aisles.
Oh.
They just left their grocery carts and walked out.
Yeah, left the grocery cart and walked out. No, they didn't.
I can't buy all this? All right, well, time for me to head for Z Hills.
Somebody had to restock it all. They did not leave the grocery carts. They left the buggies.
The buggies.
Did you ever hear that before?
I used to call it a buggy when I was growing up.
No.
Yeah,
Really?
my family, we call them buggies.
Must be a southern thing.
Must be.
In Russian families, we say grocery cart. Please.
In Russia, they just threw beets at you.
Exactly.
And that was called grocery shopping.
The cart pushes you in Russia. Okay.
By the way, I don't want to say anything. Jump to conclusions, but I don't think that sheriff is from around here.
I don't believe so. No, sir. No.
He's even farther south than South Carolina.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We got lots coming up here. We got lots of help. Igor, this first half hour. Then Daniel Stone's going to be here from National Geographic. And Congressman Jim Himes from Connecticut joining us in studio in the next hour. Let's jump right to it, Igor. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Other headlines making news on this Tuesday. The big movie about Julian Assange and WikiLeaks called The Fifth Estate coming out this weekend. And we learned how star Benedict Cumberbatch reacted when he was asked by Julian Assange himself not to star in the movie. In a Reddit discussion, Cumberbatch said to have the man he was about to portray intelligently and politely ask him to not do the movie was a real cause for concern, but it galvanized him into addressing why he was doing the movie, and he went ahead with it. Earlier this year, Assange wrote a big letter to him, which was widely spread online, that he wrote, "You will be used as a hired gun to assume the appearance of the truth in order to assassinate it." Cumberbatch said, "Oh well."
Is anyone excited about this movie?
I'm not.
I'm not either.
I find the story fascinating, but I don't really need to see a Hollywood fictionalized version of it.
I don't either. But, it reminds me, there's this other story out there today that the guy who was going to play the lead in 50 Shades of Grey dropped out. 75,000 people wrote letters protesting his choice as the lead actor. And he finally just said, screw it, I'm not going to do it. I've never heard of it.
We're so democratic here.
I mean, they made the big announcement. This is Charlie Hunnam was the guy's name. And he was gonna,
But I mean, if people would protest that he was chosen to lead, and they could actually put enough pressure on to...
Maybe Ben Affleck will hear this story and he'll drop out of Batman. Because at least that many people are opposed to him playing Batman.
Another big-name retailer is opening on Thanksgiving Day this year. After 150-plus years of not doing so, Macy's will be opening earlier. They opened at midnight last year on Black Friday. They were one of the last holdouts to make the Thursday evening jump. USA Today reports they will open at 8 p.m. Thanksgiving Thursday, along with other brick-and-mortars, including Toys R Us, Target, Walmart, Sears, and Kmart. And they will stay open for 24 hours through Black Friday.
Yeah, I was surprised that that's big news. I mean, I thought we know Black Friday, but I thought they all opened on Thanksgiving night.
They started in the last 3 years doing that. And Macy's was sort of the last big one, I think.
My sister will be there when they open the doors, man.
If you go shopping on Thanksgiving, I don't know, man. I'm not in favor of that. You want to get up at midnight on Black Friday and go shopping? More power to you. But come on, let's keep Thanksgiving.
What's Just do it online. I mean, that's
the real thing. I mean, God, I'm not going to
click. And that's that Cyber Monday.
Cyber Monday.
Right?
Yeah.
Cyber Monday is when they have the deals.
And in sports, they say home field advantage always helps. And for the Los Angeles Dodgers, last night it did. They got right back into the NLCS with a 3-0 win over the St. Louis Cardinals, thanks to great pitching by rookie Hoon Jin Ryu of South Korea, who doesn't speak a word of English, but he understood exactly what his task was last night.
So who was pitching?
He became the first Dodger to pitch 7 shutout innings in a postseason game in 32 years. Game 4 tonight, it's LA's chance to tie the series. In the ALCS, Boston heads to Detroit for Game 3 tomorrow.
You know, that guy, he doesn't have to speak English as long as he keeps pitching the way he was pitching last night.
Who?
Ryu.
Oh, Ryu. Sorry.
Don't ask me. I'm not even going to try. So, Igor, there's a lot of talk in town, and we talked about it yesterday on the show, and we got some flack for some of the things that I said about the protest, so-called protest, at the World War II Memorial on Sunday, where Ted Cruz and Sarah Palin showed up with about 100 or 200 people, which Fox News is still calling the Million Vets March. You have reported, Think Progress, that some veterans groups were not so happy with what happened.
Well, it's amazing. These guys shut down the government, and then they run down to the memorial complaining that the memorial has been shut down and how outrageous it is that these veterans, who, by the way, they voted to cut multiple times on the House floor. The Ryan budget undercuts it by some $10 billion, this latest version. But when it comes to memorials, they want to make sure veterans can get to those memorials.
Well, one of them, the World War II Memorial. You don't they don't care about Vietnam Memorial.
Right.
They don't care about Arlington National Cemetery.
Yeah, just the World War II. I mean, they don't need the benefits if they can see the memorial. Is the way. It's benefit enough, really. And so it looks like the organizers of this march on their homepage were a little frustrated with people like Ted Cruz, and Sarah Palin was down there as well, saying, look, you guys can't use this as a backdrop for your own political shenanigans here. And it's remarkable. We saw in the first few days of the shutdown, you had this huge story of Congress people, Republicans literally gathering, practically caucusing at this memorial. Bachmann, Steve King, trying to move the barriers to let veterans in because they traveled so far. I mean, really just crazy, crazy stuff. And, you know, this kind of, my feeling with this kind of crazy political publicity stuff is it may make for pretty pictures to send back home to your districts, but the American people see through this. I mean, the fact that the numbers for Republicans are some 74% of Americans disapprove of the Republican Party, an all-time high, just shows that this kind of thing, you know, the American people are smarter than this. And now the veterans themselves are speaking out and saying this is just unacceptable.
So what I thought was most the sad, really, of saddest part of all of Sunday, were these idiots there, the so-called protesters, cheering Ted Cruz and cheering Sarah Palin, when in fact they're the ones who shut the place down. So, you know, as you point out, they're responsible for the shutdown. It was Ted Cruz's idea. It was bought by House Republicans. This is a way to get rid of Obamacare. It's been a total, colossal failure for the country, for their party. And what was it? Someone yesterday said it was like, you get fired, and then the next day you show up and applaud your boss for firing me.
Exactly.
No. He's the guy. He's the guy you ought to be. I said, hanging in effigy. But
well, that's the thing, Bill. You know, I don't understand.
For some people.
I don't understand how stupid do they think we are to buy this kind of thing. I mean, Ted Cruz in particular.
Yeah, but obviously there were 200 stupid people at the World War II Memorial on Sunday. But you know, the other thing is, I have seen on all the networks ads run by veterans groups protesting the shutdown, and aimed at John Boehner and saying, put the pressure on Boehner. As veterans, we don't want this shutdown. So the veterans, they should not be protesting the fact that the World War II Memorial is closed. They ought to be protesting the fact that the government is shut down by these same Republicans. So I'm glad you got on top of that. I'm going to grab here because you had a couple of other stories. This is related to the debt ceiling.
Oh, goodness. You know,
how the House... So whatever deal they come up with the Senate is going to have to go through the House.
Yes,
and
that's the big test, is what will happen in the House. I mean, let me just say, first of all, I had so much fun with this deal, with this whole story. I'm really excited to do it all again in 3 months when we're going to have to deal with the debt ceiling and the budget. I'm really psyched, guys. Here we go. But yeah, so that's the big question. Will Boehner put it on the floor? Will he allow for it to come to a vote, even though a majority of Republicans may not back this thing? And
what else they may try to tack on.
And what else they might try to tack on. Now, what surprised a lot of people is one of the House Republicans who's leading the opposition to this deal that doesn't include massive changes to Obamacare, just touches it on the edges, is Paul Ryan. And his big concern is that the deal won't expand what's called the conscience clause. And it's this provision that would allow businesses to deny any healthcare service to anyone that they disagree on because they have some kind of moral objection to it. Now, of course, this goes to the heart of the birth control provision in the Affordable Care Act, which says women, you can have birth control without additional cost sharing. Paul Ryan and Republicans want employers to be able to say, this undermines our religious freedoms and our religious beliefs. We don't believe in birth control, and thus we're not going to provide it to you. That's what they want. Now, the shocking thing is you remember this was an issue during the 2012 presidential campaign. There was something called the Blunt Amendment that Romney immediately endorsed. It was very controversial. It was later pulled back, and that they had to walk it back. Now it's back. Republicans want to tack it onto this deal for employers to be able to say, no birth control for you. But it's particularly interesting for Paul Ryan because in Wisconsin, they have their own state conscience clause protection. And in Wisconsin, it's much narrower than what's allowed today under Obamacare. And so Catholic organizations, Catholic colleges in Wisconsin have to provide contraception coverage.
Whoa,
That's really the
yeah.
shocking part here. But under Obamacare, in the arrangement the Obama administration worked out in February, they don't have to because they gave them kind of an opt-out clause. They compromised with the Catholics, but they do in Wisconsin because it's state law. It's been around, I think, since 2006, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, this is cynical on many levels, but the basic fact that you would use the default as leverage to deny women access to birth control is really shocking, particularly for someone who's seen as a moderate, real policy thinker within the Republican Party.
It's one more case, though, of tacking stuff onto a budget deal, using, as the president even talked about, and has talked several times about, and again yesterday, of putting their ideological agenda, right? You know, so that they use the budget, use the government, use the possibility of default to accomplish things on their social agenda
that they
could not
through.
otherwise.
Yeah.
Igor Volsky here from Think Progress. He's uncovering it all, reporting on it all, and you can follow them at thinkprogress.org. And your questions, welcome right here, right now at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look, your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
It's 26 minutes after the hour now here. Daniel Stone from National Geographic joins us in the next half hour. Right now, we're here, as we are every Tuesday, with Igor Volsky, managing editor of Think Progress, thinkprogress.org. Peter, quickly.
We're on Twitter at BP Show, Gracie, with 2 R's, Gracie says, there should be no deal or discussion or negotiation until the government is open and the debt ceiling lifted. Full stop. That's all they want there. On echoing what a lot of people are saying on Twitter today. Remember, we were at BP Show there. So
Democrats used to say that.
Yeah,
I
right.
remember last week. That's what they used to say, right?
But you just made a point before the break, Igor, which I had made earlier in the program, which is this deal, the outline of which has kind of been leaked, right, would raise the debt ceiling, but only until February 15, reopen the government, but only until January 15th. What kind of a deal is that?
I don't understand why they can't raise the debt ceiling for a year. I mean, I think the thinking is they'll be able to kind of stretch it past the February 5th date, I think, that they're talking about now, and they'll push it into the 2014 election, and by that point, it'll be easier to lift it again. But I don't understand why you can't just provide stability to the business community, where Republicans say they want, above all else, certainty, and pass a year debt ceiling and move on to other priorities.
And I'll tell you why. They don't want that because if they have a whole year, then they might be able to get something else done. I think that this constant bickering over the budget works to the advantage of the Tea Party and to the Republicans. So no immigration reform, no climate change legislation, none of that other stuff will get done. Think Progress. Check it out, thinkprogress.org. Igor Volsky, thank you for coming in, as always.
This
thank you. See you
is
next
the
week.
Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Careful over there. Do I have a microphone? 33 minutes.
Alive.
Look, I've got my microphone, I've got my yogurt, I've got my iced tea.
Yeah. Iced tea in air quotes.
Smells
an awful lot like a tavern in that cup.
I am ready to go. We are the Bill Press Show, coming to you live from our nation's capital and brought to you today by the Communication Workers of America, the good men and women of the CWA, the Union for the Information Age under President Larry Cohen. You can find out more about their website at their about their work at their website cwa.org, cwa-union.org. All right, off we go, searching for new ideas around the globe. Who else would do that but National Geographic? And who else at National Geographic would do it but Daniel Stone in studio with us this morning. He's got his bags packed, ready to go. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, sir. Good to see you again.
Excited about this?
I'm thrilled. Yeah, it's great.
So this whole new venture is that you're going off on new ideas, looking around the globe for...
Right. We are reporting on new ideas in real time. It's a tour of innovation that I'm undertaking starting next week with just myself and a photographer. And we're going around the world to 8 different countries and probably some destinations we haven't planned yet either.
Parts unknown.
Right. To meet with some innovators, some researchers, scientists pursuing advances in all aspects of the globe. So we're talking agriculture, water, transportation, infrastructure, and energy, and trying to find people planning for the future.
It's hard to believe that there are new ideas that National Geographic has not already reported on.
I think you said that to me last time I came in, and I thought a lot about that. A lot of the world's been covered, chronicled. We've seen all these countries. We've GPSed every inch of the planet.
Yeah.
But remember that the Earth changes and humanity changes too, and new ideas and innovation is a constant presence. So, perhaps someone thought of a great idea like the automobile 100 years ago, but the ways that people are trying to innovate that now, the ways people are trying to plan for more people on the planet, for hungrier people, for a warmer climate, for less water in some of these countries, those are all areas where new ideas could be substantial, make a big difference.
And also in like a world that's so connected now, it's amazing to see how different parts of the world do things so differently than we're used to. You sort of assume that as you see more and more people sort of adopt these new ideas and techniques and traditions, that it sort of spreads. But there's still a lot of ways that people stay territorial. So like these great ideas coming out of here are a lot different than the ones somewhere else, I would imagine.
Absolutely. And it used to be America and parts of Western Europe that had the big innovation ideas, the major, the refrigerator, the automobile. But now we're seeing, many things coming out of India. India's one stop on our trip, and we're going to see essentially the Silicon Valley of India, which is in Bangalore. What these guys are working on related to art, technology, and culture those ideas might be making their way back to the U.S. instead of, the other way around as it's usually been.
I thought India was all phone centers.
No.
Call centers.
There are a lot of those there, but those people want to rapidly industrialize also. They don't want to just be the people who answer our customer service phones. So, they're looking at hacks and finding ways to innovate, technology and the internet in ways that they could do it a lot cheaper there than they can here. And that, I think, provides them a lot of upward mobility.
So what's your first stop?
First stop, we're leaving this weekend. We're stopping in Iceland, and we're doing a very...
Iceland,
Reykjavik.
I mean...
It's beautiful this time of year.
I mean, it's just not what I would think of as the first place to stop for innovation would be Iceland.
Well, the one thing we're doing in
cod.
Iceland, we're in Reykjavik. We're going to be in Reykjavik. We're meeting with a National Geographic explorer who's studying glacier melting and finding ways to measure climate change. And Iceland's a pretty fertile territory for that. So we're going to be going ice diving with her diving under the ice and in these ice fissures that form.
You mean like scuba diving?
Ice scuba diving.
Under the ice?
Under the ice, yeah.
No. All right, let's go back to Daniel. You're supposed to scuba dive in places like Florida and the Keys in the Caribbean where the water is warm. Mexico, I recommend.
Sure.
Okay. Guam, whatever. But Iceland, ice? You don't scuba dive in ice.
Right. That's exactly what my mom said too. There are ways. There are people.
Wise
do it.
Here.
People do it every day. You essentially wear a dry suit, which keeps you warm and it covers you in the way that a traditional wetsuit doesn't.
Who told you that?
What is the water temperature there? I mean, do you know? What it is off the top of your head?
I don't. It's around freezing, if not a little bit below freezing,
dude.
People do this every day.
No, they don't.
People do it most days. I asked one of our National Geographic photographers, one of these guys who takes photos of like penguins in Antarctica. I said, "What do I need to know before I get in the ice?" And he said, "Make sure you get a wetsuit in advance, and make sure you play around in it, in your bathtub or something to make sure it fits. And then when you get in the water, make sure you don't get air in your feet." That collects in the toes of the suit, because then you'll get hamstrung underwater and your whole dive will be over. So
Jesus.
Who knew that's what you had to
this
do?
is now terrifying.
But I'll send some photos, so I'm sure we'll be fine.
All right. Well, now, what is the point of diving in this ice?
So she studies...
Other than you're crazy, but what is the point?
This explorer that we're going to visit, she studies biodiversity and finding out what lives in this water and how that biodiversity has changed over the course of the past maybe 20, 30 years. And that gives her clues about how in a very cold climate that's rapidly becoming warmer, more volatility there than you'd find, lower latitudes, what that means for climate change and how we might face it 20, 30 years from now. So that's what she's studying. And this is a long-term study, but getting in the water with her can help us see
So these are lessons that we could learn from the scientists. Now, related... I noticed the New York Times this morning has a story about government shutdown. An American shutdown reaches the Earth's end. This is not related to your trip, but somewhat in the sense of this is scientific. I don't know whether you had a chance to see this, but scientific study in the Antarctic, right, which is shut down or at least impacted by the government shutdown.
This is a fascinating story. It's in the Times this morning, and we all think of, people have been furloughed in Washington, big deal, right? But when it comes to scientific research, especially in Antarctica, a government shutdown so far, even if they reach a deal today, has ruined a very large window of research. It's just the spring solstice in the southern hemisphere. It's getting warm in Antarctica. These scientists head down there to study climate change and take ice cores. And the fact that they can't get down there not only impedes their research, but it also essentially ruins these decades-long research studies that require continuity. If you miss one season, it essentially is like writing a biography without a central component, a couple pages missing.
Yeah, right.
And there are about 3,000 American scientists who head down there every year.
Whoa.
And they've all been stuck now in New Zealand just waiting for the green light from Washington, missing valuable research days.
Our mutual friend Sam Stein from Huffington Post had a piece yesterday, too, how sequestration and the shutdown have dealt a body blow to scientists. These are the kind of impacts of the shutdown really nobody's talking about.
Right. No one's talking about them, and they're hard to see. I mean, we heard those stories about the NIH, these studies with kids with cancer, right? That was very visible. But a lot of these studies, these government studies, are funded by this government money. We won't know the impact maybe ever. Usually you can't characterize what you haven't found out yet. So what we're not finding out because of the shutdown could be potentially very valuable, and it's one of those, as Donald Rumsfeld would say, those unknown unknowns.
Yeah, and instead, we focus on the fact that, oh my God, the World War II memorial is closed, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so you take the barriers down, and people think that they've done something worthwhile, when in fact, all of these impacts, plus the impacts on people on food stamps, and on and on and on across the country.
I'm sorry, I just quoted Donald Rumsfeld in a discussion about science.
Yeah,
I realized.
Man, somewhere someone's head just exploded.
So first stop, Iceland. Let's take a quick break, but to come back, there may be areas of innovation around the globe or new ideas. You're open still to...
Oh, yeah. Our itinerary is not fully set, so we're glad to take suggestions, and we want to know from even your listeners, what we should see, who we should talk to.
Anywhere on the planet. 86. Boy, this is the time for our video streamers. We've got in Belarus and all around the world.
That's right.
Dozens of countries, people in dozens of countries video streaming the show. We've discovered So now's the time to get your comments, your ideas in for the National Geographic. And Daniel Stone and his photographer friend might show up in your backyard. 866-55-PRESS is the toll-free number.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing done. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour. It is refreshing not to have to talk government shutdown with somebody. Daniel Stone is here from National Geographic. Your questions, your comments, always welcome at 866-55-PRESS. Don't worry, there'll be lots more about the shutdown in the next hour, as there was in the last half hour and in the last hour. But right now, Daniel Stone leading his team out in search of new ideas for National Geographic, telling Stone about that. I want to ask you about the National Geographic. I mean, this is a time when print publications in general are in pretty serious trouble. A lot of them have folded. There's no more Newsweek. There's no more U.S. News and World Report.
Sure.
Who knows how long Time Magazine is going to be around. How about National Geographic? Is it still basically a print publication, or has it moved more online?
It's certainly still print, and Geographic has been very fortunate to be largely insulated from a lot of the market forces affected that affected the news weeklies. But we've faced the same small drops in circulation as anyone has, and we've tried to push a lot of our content toward the web and toward the tablets, the iPad, the Kindle, to try to get people to read on the tablets. But so far, we still have about 7 million subscribers, and that's a big number. And I think
that's big.
A large part of it is the photography work that my colleagues do, and those play very well in print on very nice paper.
And National Geographic was one of the first to really get into the videos. The National Geographic videos are phenomenal.
Right.
They've been around a long time, and so moving more of that online, I guess, is what you're able to say.
Right.
Huh?
And the place has a lot of ambition. I mean, this project that we're going around the world, this is something new for Geographic. So for several decades, it was this yellow book that would show up in your magazine that maybe your grandparents got for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now we're trying to be a bit quicker with it, more frequently than a monthly magazine. We're trying to be interactive. That's why we're going around the world, and we're going to be on social media the whole time, letting you know what we're going to see, who we're talking to, what they told us. We're going to have text, photography, and social media to bring it all together in real time.
In real time. So it won't be you go like at the old days, right? You would go out on a trip and take all your notes and everything and then come back and write it, and then it would show up 6 months later in the magazine.
No, this is much quicker. This will be daily. I'll have daily dispatches from the field, and I'll be tweeting as much as hourly, so depending on what we find. But I'm sure, regardless, we're going to get some great photos.
Can we check in with you?
Absolutely.
Can you send us some photos?
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah. No, I mean,
totally.
seriously, we could have, on the road with Dan Stone.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That would be great. We can definitely plan that. Our website, by the way, is called...
I was going to ask you that next.
It's called Onward, ONWARD. Onward.nationalgeographic.com is where you'll find our dispatches, and that website actually launches tomorrow, so I jumped the gun a bit. But and we'll be on Twitter. I'm at Dan en route.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it here. At Dan en route.
Right.
Like that.
So throw me a follow and send me some comments.
And the other is what? Onward at?
Onward.nationalgeographic.com.
Got that, Peter?
I got it.
All right.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So we're starting in Iceland, assuming, which I'm not sure is a safe assumption, assuming you survive the ice dive, right? Where do you go from there? Or give us another interesting stop.
We're going to be doing
Belarus. Are you in Belarus?
We're not in Belarus at all. Although I'd love to meet some of your listeners.
We're big in Belarus.
We're big in Belarus. That's why I was just wondering if you're going there.
I'll say this much: we're going to do an archaeology story, finding mummies and digging for mummies in Southern Europe. Okay, we're going to do a pretty traditional wildlife geographic story in Eastern Africa.
I want to find out more about what is this now? Digging for
you just gloss over the European mummies that you're hunting for. Like, no big deal.
What mummies in Southern Europe?
Right. We're going to be in
Egypt is where you find
No.
the mummies.
We're going to look at European mummies. You're familiar with the Iceman, that famous mummy?
Oh,
that was found?
yes.
We're going to meet with the man who found it. He's going to show us the spot, and we're going to learn about the work that's been done on the Iceman and some of the other similar mummies that have been found in the Alps.
I learned about the Iceman in National Geographic magazine.
There you go.
Many years ago.
And be careful when you meet this guy. I hear he's got kind of a chilly reception when you meet him. Yeah.
Where in Southern Europe?
This will be in Bolzano, Italy, northern Italy, just a couple hours north of Milan, right where it gets also pretty cold.
Yeah.
And we're going to be taking...
Luckily, you'll have a skin suit, so
Right, exactly.
it'll come in handy on this trip.
From there, we're going to go
Are
and
they
do
still finding mummies? Did they? I mean, this is. I just can't deal with this. They buried these mummies up in the mountains? Is
Right.
that-
All of these mummies, yeah. I mean, and they're really well preserved because it's so cold. The Iceman obviously was found about 30 years ago, but yeah, there are more skeletons being found. I mean, that's the crux of archaeology, that you really don't know what's out there until you find a spot and you dig for it.
Free idea.
Please.
Title one of your pieces. Indiana Stone and the Temple of Doom. Okay?
That's good.
All right?
That's gold.
I'm just telling you. That's pretty good. Cyprian gets the
We'll
tattoo.
get one of those
Cyprian did
maps
that
with the dotted line. That
Yeah.
goes over it.
Totally.
Okay. Well, if I may ask, what's the new idea about a 30,000-year-old mummy?
Good question.
Dead mummy.
Well, it's what the research is on these guys. So, how these people lived essentially tells us how we have evolved as a species, right? Especially in Europe. We know a lot about Egyptian mummies, like you said.
Right.
But in Europe, understanding how these guys lived and how, what the culture was back then, how they adapted to shifts in climate, especially there in the Alps, can hold some clues for our future as well. So, at all these stops, we're also looking at a couple other different topics. So in Italy, we're going to be doing some research on food and the food culture, the European economy, which we've heard a lot about over the past, 2 years, how that's behaved. And in Iceland, we're going to be doing a story on tourism. How did Iceland become this tourist destination, totally hot right now?
It is.
In the way that Greenland isn't. But we're going to dive into that and meet some people to talk to us about it.
It's going to be fascinating. It'll be
Awesome.
It'll be fun to keep up with you through all of this. How long are you going to be gone entirely?
5 weeks.
5 weeks.
On the road until
All right.
about Thanksgiving.
All right. Well, we'll see you here in studio in 5 weeks after Thanksgiving. But then in the meantime, we'll keep up with you on Twitter @DanEnroute and that website again.
Onward.nationalgeographic.com.
Yes, sir.
All right. We got it. Daniel Stone. Bon voyage.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks
See you,
for
man.
coming
Be
in.
safe.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, what do you say? We are closing in on the end of hour number 2. Ready for hour number 3. I know we're going to lose you on Free Speech TV. But fear not. You can still watch our video stream at TawkrTV. You know how to do it. Go to youtube.com/Tawkr, TAWKR-TV. Ashley Codianni from Now This News will be here in studio with us, as well as Congressman Jim Himes from Connecticut. We'll get the inside scoop on the deal.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen. petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Jim Himes from Connecticut will be with us, as well as Ashley Codianni from Now This News. President Obama, with a busy day at the White House today, gets a daily briefing at 10:15 this morning. Then he will be doing some regional television interviews with 3 local television anchors. This afternoon, he will be awarding Captain William Swenson the Medal of Honor in the East Room of the White House. Those are always very moving ceremonies. And then late this afternoon, the President and the Vice President meet with the Secretary of Defense, Chuck Hagel. Jay Carney will be back with a briefing today. We had none yesterday because of Columbus Day. His briefing today at 12:30 at the White House. One more hour coming up.
This is the Bill Press Show. broadcasting around the nation on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, it looks like we may have a deal, but is it worth a damn? We'll find out. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Tuesday, October 15. This is the Bill Press Show, coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and our studio right here in the heart of the action on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. We're just down the street from the United States Congress, the Capitol, where the makings of a deal maybe in the Senate. It's got to go over to the House and then to the White House, and we are edging closer and closer to that deadline when we go over the cliff just 2 days from now on Thursday, October 17. To help us sort through it all as to exactly where we are in this whole mess, Ashley Codianni with Now This News in studio with us this half hour. Hello, Ashley. Nice to see you.
Good morning. How are
Welcome
you?
back.
Thank you.
And you know the team here, Peter Ogburn and Dan Henning.
Hey.
Good morning.
With
Good
Alicia
morning.
Cruz on the phones. And Cyprian Bolding's got us looking good on the video cam. We are, of course, your local morning show on your local progressive talk radio station. And you can watch the video stream on TawkrTV. It's youtube.com/TawkrTV. TawkrTV, all one word, TAWKR TV. Yesterday, Ashley, there's been a lot of talk about it, I'm sure you've covered this too, that we had the big rollout of the health exchanges and the system crashed. Obviously, now the White House and HHS says it's just because so many people were interested in buying Obamacare. We know it's just because they didn't do the homework that they should have done to have a system that could handle that kind of a workload. As a friend of mine said, they should have just contracted it out to Amazon to handle, right? Amazon doesn't break down like that. But Robert Gibbs, former press secretary for President Obama, had some choice words to say about that yesterday on MSNBC.
This is excruciatingly embarrassing for the White House and for the Department of Health and Human Services. This was bungled badly. This is not a server problem, right? Like just too many people came to the website. This is a website architecture problem. I think it is, again, it's excruciatingly embarrassing. I hope they're working day and night to get this done. And when they get it fixed, I hope they fire some people that were in charge of making sure that this thing was supposed to work.
I hope they do too. It is embarrassing. Yeah.
Well, sure, it's embarrassing. And, you're right. Obviously, somebody didn't do their homework. But I think the thing that Republicans are missing is that had they just sort of, we have this whole shutdown debate over the Affordable Care Act. And had the Republicans just sort of let that happen on its own and not created this shutdown, it's amazing how all of these criticisms and all these faults of the rollout would have actually benefited them more, probably than, say, shutting down the entire government.
Excellent point, right. That they failed in their goal to derail or defund or kill Obamacare. And they also failed in the sense that when the focus shifted to the shutdown, the problems with the rollout did not get the attention that they otherwise would have had.
Right. So in the end, it ends up benefiting the White House just a tad bit in this. The press attention went to the Republicans and not to the White House and not to the rollout. Because, of course, there are criticisms. But, every headline this week and the week before was about the shutdown. Mm-hmm. Now it's moved over to the debt ceiling debate. Yeah. So in the end, it's great that Robert, I don't think it's great that, he said that. But
right.
I think it's interesting that, he did come out with that rhetoric now, because it's a little almost late to the game, so it's been masked and shielded.
It's the Ted Cruz boomerang, right? He threw it out there and it's come back to hit the Republicans right in the face. We've got a lot to talk about here, and we'll be joined Ashley Codianni here for the first half hour, and then Congressman Jim Himes from Connecticut will be joining us as well in studio. But first,
this
big stories of the day here.
Other headlines making news on this Tuesday. President Obama made an unannounced visit to a food bank here in Washington yesterday, showing up at Martha's Table to bag sandwiches for the needy, working with students from his daughter's school, making bologna and cheese and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. The Hill reports the president is not the best sandwich bagger in the world. He apparently had some trouble closing the Ziploc bags, and Ziploc, the corporation, found out about that, and they said it's easy, just needs a little practice, and they are sending a big supply of Ziploc bags now for free to Martha's Table after hearing that news.
I'm not sure the president has many opportunities to play with the Ziploc bag, right?
There is a new crown in the competition of the loudest outdoor sports stadium. The Guinness Book of World Records has certified that Arrowhead Stadium, where the Kansas City Chiefs play, broke 137.5 decibels in noise on Sunday during that team's win over Oakland. By comparison, a jet engine flying at just 100 feet away produces 140 decibels of noise. So this was loud. The previous record was just a tad quieter, set in Seattle at a Seahawks game earlier this year.
I want them to see to do the comparison of loud restaurants. That's what drives me crazy. Restaurants where you go and you can't
hear the person
can't
across
hear the
the
person
table.
across the table. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they say home field advantage always helps. It certainly did in Los Angeles last night, where the Los Angeles Dodgers got right back into the National League Championship Series with a 3-0 win over the St. Louis Cardinals, thanks to great pitching by rookie Hyun-Jin Ryu of South Korea, who does not speak English, but he understood exactly what his task was last night. He became the first Dodgers player to pitch 7 shutout innings of baseball in a postseason game since 1981. Game 4 tonight.
Dodgers. Go Dodgers. They came back. Big time last night. So, Ashley, we have heard that, in fact, Dan, let's just start. And, Ashley, we'll start with the 2 leaders of the Senate yesterday coming onto the floor.
Yep.
In front of the TV cameras to give a little progress report. First, Majority Leader Harry Reid.
I'm very optimistic that we will reach an agreement that's reasonable in nature this week to reopen the government, pay the nation's bills, and begin long-term negotiations to put our country on sound fiscal footing.
And shortly after he spoke, the Republican leader Mitch McConnell stepped up.
We've had an opportunity over the last couple of days to have some very constructive exchanges of views about how to move forward.
So it sounds like everything's going to work out, right? What are they talking about in terms of a deal?
So in their deal, there are, 3 very important pillars. One of them being that they're going to agree to fund the government until January 15th.
Oh, reopen the government.
Reopen and fund the government, yeah.
Yeah.
Raise the debt ceiling all the way until February 7th. And then the Senate House Budget Committee will come back with a replacement budget, a revised spending cuts that they should, in theory, work together to devise for December 13th.
December 13th.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So we are going to resolve all this whole problem. We're going to reopen the government, but only until January 15th. We're going to raise the debt ceiling, but only until February 7th. And then we're going to have budget negotiations for the next 2 months. Why is this a good deal?
Well, I mean, I think many would argue that it's not a good deal, but at the time, it is a deal. So this is just another example of, as a lot of people say, kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
So in a few months, we could be sitting here talking about these same problems and going through this same process all over again. The other thing is, too, is we say, is this a deal? Will the government open this week? Well, I mean, this has to go back over to the House, and it has to win the majority of the House GOP unless Boehner decides to put it to the floor, which, I mean, this could be something that, this could pull him out of his seat if say, he buckles to the pressure, which he should, and bring this bill to the floor.
Let's go back to the deal in just a second, but assume it passes the Senate.
Yeah.
Assume that let's assume Ted Cruz does not kill it in the Senate.
Right, which he says he's unsure if he's going to block it or not, which in itself is a little frustrating.
Yeah, he's already the most hated man in the Senate, so what does he have to lose in a sense? But assume it gets through the Senate. The only way it has to get through the House. The only way it gets through the House. It can never get through the House Republican caucus, correct?
I mean, it's unlikely.
I mean, the 40 Tea Partiers would have to say, to get through, the 40 Tea Partiers would have to say, we surrender.
Right.
Which they're not going to do, right?
Most likely not. That's correct.
So Boehner would have to call for a vote of the full House, at which point almost all Democrats would vote for it, and enough Republicans it would pass. It would pass, right. What Boehner's been unwilling to do, we could have had no shutdown if he had only done this 3 weeks ago. What makes us think that he would do it this time when he's refused so far to do that?
I honestly don't know if there's going to be anything that forces him to do it or buckles to the pressure.
I mean, the alternative is defaulting on our debts.
Right. And then that puts us back in a situation that is very similar to that of October 1st, where we waited to the 11th hour and we did shut down.
Yeah.
So it's a peculiar position for him. And this is the point where his leadership is sort of at risk if he does concede to the 40 Tea Partiers that are in many cases holding the entire country and government hostage.
Right. Now, so it's uncertain that we can even get this deal through the House. But back to the deal itself. You said that we're going to be revisiting this January 15. I think it means we'll be revisiting it as early as next week. I mean, we're not really giving ourselves any break here at all, right? I mean, we're going to be in the middle of the same issues and the same fights over the budget and the same demands again, right?
It's sort of this. It's going to be this perpetual fight that sort of holds everything up, and it's interesting too because the debt ceiling in itself is something that's manufactured almost. It's something that we put on ourselves. And others argue that maybe we shouldn't have a debt ceiling at all. And it's these sort of discussions and these arguments and these holdups and these disagreements between the House and the Senate that are really holding everything up.
Especially the one that gets me is this that we only reopen the government until January the 15th. But why? I mean, it never before, except for that one time in 1995, did we shut down the government? I mean, it's just sort of taken for granted. Macy's is open. Costco is open. The airports are open. The government ought to be running. The government, the idea that we would only open the government, agree. So all these people have been furloughed. Hopefully they'll get a paycheck for the past time. Then they come back to work, and they run the risk of 2 months later they're out of a job again.
Right.
It's insane.
Right. And I think what this unfortunately does is we've been shut down for a significant period of time. And I think what that does is it sets precedent for what could be the new norm of when we don't agree, do we just shut down? And is this something that's, socially, politically, economically acceptable to do now?
A very good point. So we go from just having to worry about a battle over the debt ceiling maybe every year or every 2 years to now battle over the debt ceiling every 3 months, and whether or not the government is even going to function, right, has become another big thing unless the Republicans get their way on some of their agenda. So I think the president ought to veto this deal. If this is the deal, I'd veto it and say, come back with something real. Give us
a long-term solution.
Yeah. The president said he'd prefer a year. At least it should debt ceiling. I mean, government shutdown should not even be an issue, and the debt ceiling at least for a year. I don't think the president will, but I think he should.
I mean, other than the country who has sort of lost faith, and we all sort of lose in this game as individuals who no longer have a government that is capable of working for us right now. Mm-hmm. But the biggest losers, really, I mean, it is the Republican Party. I mean, they haven't really gained much out of this. There's teeny little chips at the Affordable Care Act, but it's so minimal that this bargaining power that they thought they were garnering in doing this, in the end, just fell flat. Yeah. And so... Yeah,
just to put a little clarification on that. What you're referring to is what they won Here's what they want about Obamacare. The whole thing, this was all to kill Obamacare. The one thing they're going to get is a provision that says that HHS has to verify somebody's income before they get the government subsidy for purchasing Obamacare. In other words, if they say that this is how much I make, therefore I deserve a subsidy, HHS has to make sure that that's the truth. Duh, right? I mean, when you pay your taxes, you say this is how much I make. I mean,
Right.
That's what the Republicans want. This is no big deal.
All big show for
nothing.
For nothing.
Right. So when we come back with Ashley Codianni, so what will not get done now as a result of still being stuck in this budget crisis? Think about that. 866-55-PRESSURE calls welcome.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Congressman Jim Himes from Connecticut in studio with us in the next half hour. May give us some idea of whether or not any deal from the Senate can get through the House. Right now, Ashley Codianni is here from Now This News. It's Now This News, all one word, nowthisnews.com, here in studio with us. So, Ashley, with this, if this deal goes through, and we're looking at December 15, January 15, February 15, what is the likelihood that any of these other big issues looming out there, like immigration reform, are going to get done?
Well, I think they're pushed aside. I do, and I think all of those policy issues that we were talking about before we went into recess during the summer are pushed aside.
Climate change, whatever. Immigration reform, the big one, right?
Right.
So that's a consequence of this. But do you think that's maybe part of the Republicans' intent?
Oh, of course. I think the Republican intent is to I shouldn't collectively say all Republicans, but I do think that there is a group of Republicans.
Just 99% of them.
I do think there is a group of Republicans who have a higher ideology of hijacking the current system and staging almost a revolution with this strategic plan that they've had to shut down the government, have this debt ceiling debate, and sort of block everything that could possibly move forward with this.
Yeah. That's a way of impeding progress on anything, right? Is to keep the conversation focused on and continue blocking anything to do with a budget to keep the government running. Right.
And I think, this, if for anything, what we've seen recently is indicative of how they so far have sort of been successful.
Absolutely. I was going to say, I think that this deal, if it goes through, is a Tea Party victory because it will keep us in these budget negotiations for the next 3 or 4 months.
Right.
Ashley, so good to see you. Thanks for coming in. NowThisNews.com. All right, thanks.
This is the Bill Press Show. live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
About 33 minutes after the hour, it is the Bill Press Show here. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital again, our studio on Capitol Hill. Brought to you today by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Good men and women of the Teamsters Union under President Jim Hoffa. We all live better because of their good work, and you can find out more about their good work at their website, teamster.org. So the word out of the Capitol, just down the street from us, is we may be close to a deal in the United States Senate. That deal having to go over to the House of Representatives, of course, before Thursday at midnight. In fact, you better leave a little bit of time there so it can get to the White House and the President Act as well. Right in the middle of it, trying to keep up to date with the latest, Congressman Jim Himes from the 4th District of Connecticut in studio with us this morning. Congressman, good to see you.
Bill, great to be here.
Welcome for the first of what we hope will be many visits to
Thank
the Bill
you.
Press Show. Now that we know that you're a neighbor, you can
Right.
watch out. We'll be pounding on your door early in the morning to say, hey, can you come over? Right?
Explain the madness, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
So what we've heard, Congressman, so far this morning is it looks like there's 3 parts to this deal that's in the works in the Senate. Extend the debt ceiling until February 7, reopen the government until January 15, and appoint a super committee to deal with budget issues and come up with a plan by December 15. Is that a deal you can support?
That's a deal I can support, sure. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, we've got to get through the risk to the full faith and credit that is building, minute by minute. And secondly, we've got to reopen the government. Those two things are pretty significant achievements. And when you think about it, the other piece of this is a commitment to go into regular order budget negotiations. And, of course, this is something the Democrats have wanted for a very long time. It's been the Republicans who have refused to appoint Republican conferees to get a budget done.
For 6 months.
Yeah, that's exactly right. After years of saying the Senate needs to pass a budget, the Senate passes a budget, and lo and behold, they're actually not much interested in talking about it because, well, we can get into it, but it's obviously very, very difficult for them to compromise. And the definition of a conference, of course, is a room in which you compromise.
But let me ask you a couple of things and problems that I've got with this deal. First of all, reopen the government until January 15. Why is that even an issue? I mean, shouldn't the government just be functioning? All these agencies, they've got important work to do. There are people who depend on their services. You know that. I'm not telling you anything. And suddenly this has become a new bargaining tool.
Yeah, no, I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and you know what we would do if we had sort of rational politics right now? First of all, we'd get rid of the debt ceiling. There's just no argument for it. I know you said CR. Let's come back to the government being closed, but there is no argument in favor of having a debt ceiling. It has never, in its whatever it is, 50 years of existence, done anything to particularly put downward pressure on the deficit or the debt. And of course, we've seen now in the last 2 years, it's been used as a people like to use the word metaphor. We're going to blow the place. The word nuclear as a metaphor. We're going to blow the place up. And the government, same thing. Yeah. So my fix would be get rid of the debt ceiling. It's never done anything good for us. And by the way, if we're going to do a shutdown, and this is probably not legally tenable, but if we're going to do a shutdown, let's do a shutdown. Members of Congress don't get paid. The lights go off. The heat goes down. Ships, go to anchor wherever they are. Make it a real shutdown. And guess what? It'll never happen. If Social Security and Medicare aren't functional, it will never happen.
Peter and I are smiling because you could be quoting me on that. I mean, no, I said the very same thing. We're going to have a shutdown, make it a shutdown. But I've gone so far as to say, TSA, forget it. They're not working. Air traffic controllers, forget it. They're not working. The problem is, you and I, we could go on and on with this, is that when you carve out the things that people really get pissed off about or might really be in notice, then you've got just a partial shutdown, and that's
and you're insulating the decision makers from the consequences of their decisions. Which boy, we could talk a lot about that.
Keep the house gym open, right?
Yeah, staff's around
because those tea partiers have to have a place where they can shower in the morning, right? People.
So if we were smart, you're absolutely right. But in the real world, of course, I think we got as much as we're going to get. And here's the thing I would say, Bill. If you look at the numbers, look at any of the polls, starting with 5 days ago, the Wall Street Street Journal CNN poll that showed the Republican Party just absolutely obliterated. And oh, by the way, Senator Cruz, the Affordable Care Act rising 7 points in popularity. I think next time around, they'll be a little hesitant to want to run this play again. There's a reason why the deal is shaping up the way it is today, and that is that they are, while they won't say so publicly, really looking for an out, and they'll be hesitant to run this play again.
And I would hope they'd be a little hesitant about following the lead of Ted Cruz, who said this is the way to get rid of Obamacare. We shut the government down, and then they'll come begging to us to reopen the government. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. But I want to come back now to the fact that January 15, February 15. So in reality, Congressman, this doesn't buy us much time, right? We're going to be back right into the middle of this mess before we know it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and it is absolutely no way to run a railroad. I mean, I talk to plenty of people in business. My district is a very business-heavy district, and they just say, quite apart from all the fundamental structural challenges the economy has, you guys screw it up every 6 months, by inserting. I mean, how do you make decisions about investment if you're not sure if, Treasury bills will be at 2% or 6%? I mean, everybody uses the phrase, but it is truly self-inflicted wounds.
And it is a classic case, again, for the overused phrase of just kicking the can down the road, but also not very far, not 6 months or not a year. It's 3 months at the most.
Yeah, but it hides something far more, the sort of silliness of, maybe I shouldn't use the word silliness because, of course, an awful lot of people are very badly affected by this, but the sort of intellectual silliness of this every 6 months dealing with a CR and using that as a way to govern. It hides something much more fundamental, which is some pretty profound disagreements over exactly what the government should be. And it's not Republican versus Democrat, right? The reality is that you've got, you've actually got probably largely agreement on the part of most Democrats and most Republicans that the government should spend somewhere between, call it 20 and 21% of GDP, whatever, and most people understand Medicare and Social Security are important and want to reform it. You do have a very small group, 30, 40, maybe 50 people in the House Republican Party who are more kind of affiliated with the Tea Party than they are with the Republican Party, who just have a radically different vision that A, is inconsistent, I think, with where most Republicans are. Witness the Farm Bill's failure within the Republican conference, but also isn't fully thought through. I mean, these are people who, by and large, won't countenance cuts to defense, which, of course, is $700 billion of annual spending. And it's not clear that they're really true fiscal conservatives in the sense that they won't even countenance something that Reagan did to address the budget, which was to consider a little bit more revenue.
Mm-hmm. And President Reagan, who said that failure to raise a debt ceiling would be, unthinkable, outrageous.
Right.
I want to ask you, as a former Goldman Sachs executive, what would you see? There are voices in the Congress, a few, fortunately, who said, well, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, it's no big deal. We'll just prioritize, and so we don't really default. What would you think the impact of failure to raise the debt ceiling? Which, by the way, could still happen. Let's acknowledge this is not a done deal yet, right?
Very fair point, Bill. Look, Ted Cruz may wake up this morning and decide to filibuster this thing, and boy, will there ever be a market reaction to that. Look, those people who are saying that have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, and they're combining ignorance with a willingness to put this country's stability at a risk that ought to cause their constituents to wonder whether they deserve to be in Washington, D.C. If nothing else, this is something we've never seen before, and markets and business, global capital markets, as you point out, I used to work in those markets, hate uncertainty. And this is the granddaddy of all uncertainties. I mean, all financial analysis is rooted in the notion that the United States Treasury is risk-free. If you take the metaphor I use is, trying to sort of do finance in the context of a risky U.S. Treasury is like trying to do physics without gravity. It doesn't make any sense. And so anyway, I mean, these folks who are throwing this out have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, and it shows an attitude that is disdainful and nihilistic about the country and its government.
I'm sure you saw the lead article in the New York Times yesterday was the world financial leaders who were here at an IMF meeting. Last year, this time, they were worried about Greece defaulting, right? Now they're just saying, look, the United States may not even be paying its bills. The United States, the government is shut down, which people in other countries can't understand. You shut it down. Why? Over what?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we look like, you know, the amateur hour, if you will, of the world at this time.
Yeah.
And adding to all the uncertainty in the business community. When we come back, Congress, I want to ask you about the other impact, it seems to me, of this short-term deal, if there is a deal, and again, let's remember it's got to get through the House first, through the Senate first, and then through the House, is all the other stuff that's maybe not going to get done because we're still going to be focused on digging out of this fiscal crisis. Congressman Jim Himes from the 4th District of Connecticut here in studio with us. Your questions, your comments, your suggestions, welcome at 866-55-PRESS.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show. Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour, in the studio with us, good congressman from Connecticut, Congressman Jim Himes. We're talking about the shutdown and where we go from here. Again, join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS. So, Congressman, let's assume that Ted Cruz does not filibuster this. Let's assume they agree on a deal. Ted Cruz does not filibuster it. It gets through the Senate roughly as we have outlined it. What are the chances it gets through the House, and how would it happen?
Well, it would get through the House the same way everything that has gotten through the House in the last Congress that actually happened would happen. And I'm referring, of course, to the $60 billion Sandy relief bill, pretty important to my people in Connecticut.
Sure.
And by the way, the Republicans like Peter King and others, and some Republicans in New Jersey, and the Violence Against Women Act, and actually the original fiscal cliff deal of January 1st. Those things all passed, as people say, in violation of the Hastert rule, with a minority of Republicans and a whole lot of Democrats. And that's just... I tell you, it's going to be an iron law of this Congress. That's the way things are going to get done.
In other words, allowing a vote of the full House.
Right.
And so it would get passed with a majority of Democrats and enough Republicans to get it through, correct?
Right. And so the politics, but remember Sandy and Violence Against Women, and and on the fiscal cliff deal, remember the Republicans were kind of behind the eight ball because on January 1st everybody's taxes went up. This is actually going to be pretty interesting politics to watch. And I sort of hate to put it this way because there's such real damage being done out there by all this posturing, but this is the first time that I think their expectations have been dashed, in the sense that, gosh, Obamacare is still going to be around. And so I think you're going to hear incredible screams from the conservative wing of the House. On the other hand, this is the moment, of course, for the adults in the room, the John Boehners, who, whatever you think of his leadership, he has a history of getting things done, and the more moderate Republicans who've come under a lot of criticism. Did you notice, people have kind of come around to the view that this is not just a story of radical Republicans refusing to do anything. It's a story of moderate Republicans not having the courage to stand up and say, we've got to govern.
Sure.
I think this is their moment. It's going to be tough, but this is their moment.
This assumes, though, that Speaker Boehner, or if it's not Speaker Cruz, assuming it's still Speaker Boehner, but this assumes that he will do what he has refused to do for the last 6 weeks or more, and that is put this CR or this deal up in front of the full House. He hasn't done it so far. Why do you think he'll do it before Thursday?
Well, I wouldn't bet the farm, although maybe we are betting the farm on that happening, the collective farm on this. But he has said, and he said unequivocally, I will not allow the debt ceiling to, I forget his exact words, but to crumble. And, again, when push comes to shove, he has in this Congress done some things that have not enjoyed the majority of his people. And, I guess I would submit that this is probably more serious nationally and globally than the Sandy bill. Now, Sandy was terribly important to my people, but, it didn't necessarily have national resonance. This has international resonance. So, again, I'm making no guarantees here, but I at the end of the day, I like to think that he's going to do the right thing.
And the White House has indicated it's not happy with only a 3-month or 4-month extension of the debt ceiling, but it would take it as opposed to going into default. So if we get through the House, we'll probably have this deal. The impact of it, Congressman, though, doesn't it mean that we're going to be right back into the soup here? We're going to come from one fiscal crisis to another. So the chances of anything else getting done, immigration reform, for example, are gone, right? This is going to remain to be the focus of this Congress.
So here's the silver lining to that thought, which is partly right. The silver lining is that, as we discussed before, the Republicans have refused to go to a budget conference because they know that in conference they're going to need to contemplate the possibility of a compromise that involves closing some tax loopholes to create a little bit more revenue for this country, which is aging, and this country which seems to want to spend hundreds of billions of dollars year after year on defense. So we'll have that meeting, and that's, I think, a good thing, particularly, and I wouldn't, I'm not going to be too aspirational about what can happen in that meeting, but it gives us an opportunity to address, if we're smart about it, the long-term fiscal health of the country. Now, to me, that looks like, spend a little more money now on infrastructure and things, because I actually think the sequester and the current budget levels are actually, and by the way, it's not just me, it's economists in the Federal Reserve, think that we cut back too fast, too hard. So spend a little bit more money now in exchange for a fair and equitable reform of longer-term spending, particularly in the Medicare and Social Security arena. Now, people get really nervous about that, and they should. And Democrats like me are going to demand that any changes are progressive and fair. But any objective looking at the country's fiscal situation, that in the long run we've got to make these changes. And perhaps there's an opportunity to address that so that then, and here's where it's really aspirational, you can get to things where there is some common ground, like immigration reform. I mean, my God, if I'm one of the adults in the Republican Party today and I look at the poll numbers and I say, okay, we completely, by giving over the agenda to Ted Cruz, we have probably at least now recapturing the Senate off the table. What could have been a reasonable year in the House is now looking terrible with the Democrats up 9 points in the generic ballot. Time to start rebuilding. And one obvious way to do that, of course, is to be seen as constructive on comprehensive immigration reform. That's aspirational.
It is. What's also aspirational is that the grown-ups in the Republican Party will emerge and take charge, because right now, lately, they've just been ducking for cover. And I'd like to see some of them. As a Democrat, I'd like to see some of those grown-ups in the Republican Party save their party and save the country, too.
Yes.
God, it's great fun having you in the studio, Congressman. Thanks so much for coming in. We'll let you get back down the street and sort it all out. And I'll be back with today's party shot. Thanks, Congressman.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, as we've been talking all morning, it looks like we've got a deal, or at least the beginnings of a deal in the Senate. The tougher challenge, of course, will be getting anything through the House. But even if Senate Republicans and Democrats can come together on a deal, and even if John Boehner allows a full vote in the House, and even if President Obama signs this deal, I don't think it's anything to get excited about. First of all, we got to remember this whole fiscal crisis we've been through didn't have to happen. It could easily have been avoided weeks ago if John Boehner had only been willing to stand up to Tea Party Republicans and allow a vote in the House. He alone is responsible for this government shutdown of 3 weeks, which has had a devastating impact on millions of Americans. But second, with this deal, all they do is kick the can down the road. We'll be debating the debt ceiling again in early February. We'll be shutting the government down again, maybe, in January 15, and they need to come up with another budget deal again by December 15. Meanwhile, nothing else is going to get done, and this is what passes for progress today. What a joke. Tomorrow, Congressman Peter Welch, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, University of Virginia's Larry Sabato, and NEA's President Dennis Van Rokel, all in studio with you. Have a great day.
This
See you again tomorrow.
is the Bill Press Show.